He had only been in the neighborhood for an hour. New house, same dream. Peace, safety, a place to finally call home. But dreams die fast when your skin tells a story people refuse to hear. The sirens weren't for him, but they stopped at his gate. A badge flashed, a gun raised, and in that split second, the welcome he imagined turned into a nightmare. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, whispering, recording, judging. He didn't shout. He didn't move. Because in this country, one wrong breath could be the last. But 12 minutes later, the world would know whose life was really in danger. Marcus hadn't expected much from the move. Just peace, a quieter street, and maybe a place where his little girl could ride her bike without hearing sirens. After years of working double shifts, saving every spare dollar, the house on Maple Drive felt like proof that patience could finally pay off. That morning, he'd unpacked boxes labeled kitchen and memories, smiling at the smell of new paint and cut grass. He waved to a few neighbors who barely waved back. It didn't bother him. Not yet. He told himself it was just how people were, cautious at first. Maybe tomorrow, someone would stop by. Maybe next week, they'd know his name, but behind one of those manicured hedges, someone had already decided who he was. Not a father. Not a homeowner. Not a man starting over. Just another stranger who didn't belong. And when the police cruiser turned the corner that afternoon, Marcus didn't even look up at first, because to him, sirens meant safety. He didn't know that, in just a few moments, that belief and his peace would shatter in front of his own front door. The sound of tires crunching on the gravel broke the quiet hum of the afternoon. Marcus turned from his front porch, holding a folded welcome mat in one hand, a smile still resting on his face. The patrol car slowed to a stop, red and blue lights flashing against the pale walls of his new home. Two neighbors across the street paused their gardening. Another pretended to check the mail. Marcus felt the air shift, heavy, watchful. The officer stepped out, one hand resting on his holster, the other on his radio. "Sir, can I help you?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his tone steady, polite. No answer. Just a cold stare, the kind of look that didn't see a person. Just a problem waiting to be handled. "What are you doing here?" The officer finally said. Marcus blinked. "This is my house." The words sounded strange even to him, as if he was asking permission to exist. "Your house?" The officer's eyebrow rose, like the sentence itself was suspicious. Another car slowed down, recording on a phone. Someone whispered, "Finally, they got him." Got who? Marcus wanted to ask. He reached for his wallet, slow and careful, every movement deliberate. "Don't move," the officer barked, hand snapping to his weapon. Marcus froze. His heartbeat was thunder in his ears. I said don't move." The street was silent now. Even the birds seemed to hold their breath. In that unbearable stillness, Marcus realized something. It didn't matter that his name was on the lease, that his job paid the mortgage, or that his daughter's bike leaned against the porch. None of it mattered right now, because the only thing the man with the badge saw was a threat. Neighbors whispered louder. A phone camera zoomed in. Somewhere a child's voice asked, "Mom, what's happening?" Marcus's hands trembled slightly, palms open, showing nothing but air. He thought of his daughter. How she'd asked that morning if their new neighborhood would be nicer. He'd said yes. Now, he wasn't sure. The officer stepped closer, gun half drawn, eyes fixed. Marcus didn't blink, didn't breathe. The silence cracked when a second cruiser pulled up, sirens slicing through the air. Another officer stepped out, eyes darting between the scene and the man holding a gun on someone who wasn't resisting. Something flickered across his face. Confusion, maybe regret. "Dispatch," the new officer's voice came through the radio, uncertain. The suspect owns the property." But it was too late for logic, too late for explanations. Because fear, once loaded, doesn't wait for truth. And in the next few seconds, every camera, every eye on that street would witness a moment that would echo far beyond Maple Drive. A moment that would decide whether Marcus ever walked back into that house again. Then, a voice from behind. "Stop! He's not who you think he is." It was the second officer. The one who had checked dispatch, who had realized the truth seconds too late. But seconds mattered. Seconds could end a life. The first officer's finger twitched against the trigger, his breath sharp, pupils wide. Marcus's heart pounded so loud it drowned out the sirens. A scream echoed from somewhere. A woman's voice. A neighbor's, maybe. "Put it down! You'll kill him!" For a moment, the world stood still. Then, the click. That soft, metallic whisper that separates life from death. The officer froze, realizing his mistake just as his finger brushed the trigger. "Dispatch confirmed," the second officer shouted, stepping between them. "He lives here." The words cut through the chaos like a blade. The gun lowered. The tension broke. But the silence that followed was heavier than gunfire. Marcus's knees nearly gave out, not from weakness, but from the weight of everything he'd just survived. He didn't speak, didn't shout, didn't cry, because how do you find words when your right to live was almost denied in front of your own front door? The officer's hand shook as he holstered the gun, regret flickering in his eyes. But for Marcus, it wasn't over. Because some wounds don't bleed, they just stay open, waiting to be seen. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching the same patrol lights fade into the distance. The same lights that once meant safety, now only a reminder of how close he'd come to losing everything. The officer never pulled the trigger, but the damage was done. Because sometimes, it's not the bullet that breaks you. It's the moment you realize someone saw you as less than human. By morning, the video was everywhere. Man held at gunpoint in front of his own home. Thousands shared it. Millions watched it. Another headline, another outrage. And yet, for Marcus, it wasn't a story. It was a scar. He went back to work, back to his routines, but nothing felt the same. Every siren made him flinch. Every shadow in uniform reminded him how close he came to being a name on a protest sign. The officer filed a statement. Mistaken identity. A few words meant to erase the fear, the humiliation, the 12 minutes that could have ended a life. But Marcus knew better. He knew those 12 minutes weren't a mistake. They were a mirror. A reflection of a system that still asks some people to prove they belong, even when standing on their own porch. And somewhere out there, another man, another woman, another child is living their own 12 minutes, waiting for the world to see them as more than a description, more than a threat, more than a target. So the question isn't when will it stop? The question is, how many more 12 minutes will it take before it does?